in right now, not being ready.
I'm always ready.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the streams are up. Okay? I had things prepared a week ago. That's how good I am. I don't care, didn't ask. Don't care. Alright, we got the correct titles and memes on this one, and this one. Okay, good. Good. Good one. Oh, what else is going on, boys? Any good memes this week?
This week's rough.
It's a rough meme this week.
Yeah.
Oof. This is a rough one. Yeah. Alright, volume check on people. Let me see if I can adjust volumes. Speak!
Yo, yo.
Alright. Turn you up a bit. I'll turn you up a bit. Turando, say something.
Hello? Testing?
There we go. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. And... Alright. I got that set up. Okay. I got things ready. Everybody else ready?
Yep.
Okay, and then this. Alright. Plug that in because it's dying. I don't want things to be dying. Alright, let me turn my AC because I know I'm going to start dying in the middle of the thing. Alright, boys. Are we ready to go?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Alright, let me... Alright, I'm taking off the pre-show meme. Okay. Everybody, welcome to another exciting week of the Anime Book Club here on Wolfborg's YouTube, Twitch, and Kick over here. Okay, we're on all the platforms, all the memes, every single one. And now we have volumes 5 and 6 that we're talking about. We have 4 people here, myself included. We're missing Anne, who told me earlier today that they wouldn't be able to make it. So, unfortunately, they're not here. Maybe next week they'll be here. We'll find out how that goes, and I'm sure in some way or fashion we will get whatever their opinions are on these volumes, and we will. It'll either be on the next podcast or it'll be in a text chat or something. I don't know. We'll figure that out, and then I'll relay whatever information. So, let's get started with this week. So, let's start with the current guest that we have, which is the regular cast minus Anne. So we'll start with myself, of course. Wolfborg, you're here on the channel. I talk about anime a lot. Too much, in fact. And then here, we have Justin.
What's up? How y'all doing? I'm back another week. Haven't died yet.
That's good. Keep that up. It's a good record.
No.
Alright, and then we have Shadow Ann.
Hello.
Excellent. Anything to shout out here? Your Mega Man stream memes, or?
Me and my friend are being a little busy, so I'm just gonna link the YouTube channel.
Okay.
That's where I archive everything, so you know.
Alright, there you go. You can check out those archives when you get a chance, if you want. And then we have Turando.
Hello, I'm Turndo, and I like to read.
Good. That's all you need to be here, right? So, how did everybody enjoy these 2 volumes? How were our overall vibes to start with? How are we feeling? I know how I'm feeling, but I want to hear how you guys are feeling first.
I really enjoyed these 2 volumes.
Did you?
Yeah, it was good.
I thought you were giving me like mixed DMs about it at first. I was hearing
No,
you.
my DMs meant more. I thought we were actually going the mer people route.
I thought I saw. Wait, hold on. Wait. I saw the mer people ones, but I thought I also saw. It seems like the mangaka draws these in a super inefficient way.
Oh, that was in reference into volume 6, the end of it.
Oh,
Where
I
he's
see.
talking about his actual drawing.
Right.
This is how he'd explain it, like, because he was like, first I start with one paper, and then I draw an outline, and then I take another paper and draw a different outline, and put it behind that paper, and then I draw more details on this paper, and then I take paper C.
Yes.
Like, he went through his entire process, and I was like, this seems wildly inefficient.
Yeah, and he literally says, so this is a part of the after of volume 6 where he's talking about his process, and he references how he does a whole bunch of things with a whole bunch of different pieces of paper, and then just makes it digital in the end and does most of the editing digitally anyways. So, and I think he even says like there's way more efficient ways, there's better ways to do this, but I like using pencil and paper, so I'm going with this. It's like,
yeah, I was reading it like, what?
I mean, hey, it
I
looks
didn't
good
even
in the
follow
end,
it.
so. Yeah, it looks good, and I love a lot of the whole like panels, the different panels in the whole like spreads, like the 2-page spreads that he'll have too. I love them. Not 2-page. I don't know. There's too many 2-page spreads now I think about it. But I mean like the whole like one whole page image, if you understand what I mean. Anyways, there's a lot of really good art in this still. It still holds up. I was a little worried once we got into the like ancient blob shadows that we're fighting now. But they still look pretty fucking cool. And it still holds up, I think, with the art. The art is definitely strong with most of the series, I think. So definitely big W there with author's name. We have to remember the author's name.
Tanaka.
Yasuki Tanaka. That's the name. Gotta remember it. Okay. So, volume 5, called Memento. We got here on the cover for this week the 2 Ushios. We're starting this volume watching a video message, continuing a video message that they left behind for Shinpei about the 2 shadows and what they've learned from their time together. One of them is a shadow of Ushio, but she doesn't realize that she is a shadow of Ushio until in the middle of this fight that this volume starts off in. They don't understand the abilities the shadows have, but during this fight with this, from what I understood, it was a giant crow shadow initially, because the crow was attached to the shadow, and then it started copying Ushio. And that's where I kind of got confused already at first, because I thought we went through a whole thing that said once somebody's been copied, they're immune, like another shadow can't copy them.
Yeah.
So I'm a little confused about that, but I've been kind of chalking that up at first to being like, okay, maybe it's just Ushio Shadow is a weird case, which is why Ushio Shadow has these like weird differences. Like maybe the fact that she's like a defective shadow thing or whatever, and doesn't remember that she's a shadow or whatever. Maybe something about that whole thing means that she doesn't, I don't know, doesn't count or something. I don't know how the rules.
Well, I mean, the crows explain a little bit later
that they're like ancient older shadows. I understand that they're
like strays.
But I'm still confused at how they can like copy their body though. Or is it maybe just like a shell and it's not?
No, I think it's just eating information. I don't think it's actually copying their body.
But this one did in the fight though. It became her. There was like 3 Ushios.
Oh yeah. That confused me too. Unless it was mother.
Well, I don't know. Maybe. Well, I don't know.
I don't know. Shown herself as different people, right? At the end.
They have, yes. We find out that Shiori's shadow was actually the mother who is also revealed to be both the god that the island worships, and and what's her name? Haine?
I think it's
Hein?
supposed to be like, I don't know where it comes from.
But you understand so there's like 3 different names we got going on. Hein Hiruko, that's the god name, and then Shiori now. And I guess at some point they were like just wanted to LARP as Shiori, I guess, for memes.
I mean, as you do.
They wanted to like pretend like they had an actual family or whatever for a little bit too. I mean, these shadows, I mean, most of these volumes has been showing us more about how these shadows work. We get into a lot of detail in the afterword of Volume 5, all about the rules of how the shadows seem to work based on what Shadow Ushio has discovered once she regained the realization that she's a shadow. So we have a whole bunch of rules. I'm trying to pull them up here so we can just briefly go over. There's a whole mechanics involving printing objects. They do have to copy things in order to eat. That's like their physical body eating. Their like 3D body eating is not enough for them to exist in their forms, which is why we have like the ancient ones that are like deformed, weak things or whatever. If you don't copy, what was the rule? You have to copy and erase something in order to like retain its form or to eat it. Yes. To erasing it is basically the same as eating it for them. You erase it and it becomes like a part of like your data. These are like higher dimensional digital beings of some sort, right? So they are hold on one second. Oh, there we go. Okay. I was just checking something. Okay. These are like higher dimensional digital beings. So they have a whole bunch of weird rules related to data, copying, printing, erasing, overwriting. And it goes through some of these, but I'm very confused at how some of the mechanics of it works or how it could be abused. We see a couple ways that they utilize it. Like, they understand that they can have Shadow Ushio create a nail, like a copy of one of the nail guns. And I think the nail gun that they're given is like a modified nail gun from Old Man Nezu. And this modified nail gun allows them to actually shoot nails. Because I think before the nail gun, you had to have something like pressed against it in order for it to work as like a safety mechanic. Now it kind of operates like a gun, but it has a very short range for it to be effective, pretty much, which is the only catch.
5 feet or something?
Yeah, but in order for them to get it to, so they erased the original nail gun, and they created a copy of it, which Shinpei's using, and they said they had a benefit to it. There's a benefit to using the copied version, and I forget what it was.
You could refresh it. They could refresh the nail gun.
Yeah, you could just refresh it. I remember, yes, because you have to be able to like erase something in order to be able to like make copies of it too, right? So.
Yeah, you have to like, even the original copy. I think you got to erase that copy to do it again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If I remember correctly how it was explained, if the original is still, if you can copy anything's data, but if it still exists, you can't use any of its data for long. It'll like go away after a while. You won't be able to retain.
I think
the
it's
form.
anything like mechanical. You can't really use it.
Right. Here we go. I found the sections. So we have a couple sections involving scanning, which is where basically what we're saying, like copying or whatever. They're basically scanning. That's the flash that they do, where they scan someone and they're able to retain a whole bunch of information about that person. When they're doing this, they can't move. And then you have printing, where it's scanning. Then they have printing, and that it specifically has a formula for it. Copying equals scanning plus printing. So in order to do it, they scan somebody's memories and then they print themselves out as it, and or they print that as their 3D body, I guess. And then that's how they essentially can become a copy of somebody. But they have to erase in order to eat, and they have to touch the object in order to erase it. So they have to touch it in some form or manner in order to erase something. And damage to the solid body can like come back immediately, but damage to the actual shadow body, it's a lot more difficult to recover, because that's, you know, their real body. So there's a lot to it. Some of it's still kind of confusing to me about how it's supposed to work, I guess, but for the most part, I think it's sort of cool. I kind of like it more than it being explained as like These are just like ghost type things. I like how it's got like more of a digital kind of angle to it too. I think they even literally mention the line at one point for Shinpei that he's rendering the world. Like his eye ability is like the power of observation through these parallel worlds, so whatever he's observing is rendering it or whatever. So like we have a whole bunch of references to all this kind of supernatural stuff going on, but explaining it in terms of like digitized stuff and like tech kind of stuff. And I don't know if I'm just biased because I'm a computer dude, but I think that's pretty neat.
Nerd.
Wow.
Sorry.
Nerd.
How do you really feel, Justin? I want to hear thoughts from you.
Thoughts, huh?
Yes.
Well, I really enjoyed it. I read it earlier this morning. I was getting hyped when we were going into the cave because I thought we were going to go the mer people route.
God damn it. Every time.
But we went the fucking leech route apparently.
Yeah,
And,
kind of.
That whole Hiroko god thing is like an actual Japanese tale. Like Google it out of curiosity.
Yeah.
5 minutes ago.
What'd you find? Did you just confirm that it's a thing?
Hiroko
or?
means leech child, or it's known as leech child in some shrines in some specific place.
Oh, okay.
It was the first god who was cast aside.
I
So it
see.
sounds
I
like
see.
pretty close
I
to what they said in
when you're
the
leeching,
manga.
yeah.
So these things are just sort of like, I guess, in essence, leeching off of the data of these humans in order to survive.
Yeah. Seems like something like that.
I do get a little, well, like I said, there's still some confusions to me in terms of like the exact mechanics of how it's supposed to work long term. I understand these things are planning end of the world shit. I'm just kind of confused, like, so when you copy somebody and you erase them, are you just like permanently okay with that form, or do you have to get a new form eventually? Because now that body's not around, especially in this setup where they're just feeding the bodies to Hiroko, the mother or whatever. They're just feeding the. We find out that this is the culture of this island that's been there for centuries. Everybody's been worshiping the god Hiroko. The doctor has been.
Realized something.
What's that?
You know how like all those strays down in the caverns
Yep.
are like blind and like
Yep.
stupid and all that?
Right.
Was Mother going around taking strays? Because she said she left some strays with Tokiko. Taking strays.
Yeah.
Kidnapping people, and those are the super weak shadow we've been seeing, taking people over who she had to like coach how to be fucking people. And those strays that she was making to try to be her family, to RP family.
I think so. Because I was a little confused at what she meant by strays at first too. I was like, is she referring to Shinpei and so? I'm confused or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's what she was doing. She was like taking the super weak shadows we've been running into her, just like strays. Mother's been like giving bodies out of, I don't know, fucking boredom or part of her plan or something.
Right. Yeah, I wonder if we're going towards a kind of route where, and I wondered it the moment I found out like the doctor and his whole family was involved behind the scenes with keeping a whole underground like sewer shadow people alive for like many years. They were doing it because their mother was only being kept alive by the fact that she is the shadow. The mother in a wheelchair is a shadow because the real one seems to have passed away years ago, and the father just has gotten into this deal so that they could have a shadow copy of his wife so that she could still be alive. And at first they're like, I think so when he finds out about this from his sister is like, what the fuck? That means she died years ago. But then the sister's like, it's the same thing. She's the same person. I mean, you guys are treating Shadow Ushio like the real Ushio, right? And it's like, well, I guess, because like, you know, we're getting vibes here and themes of like letting go, and you know, with specifically just those two characters, I guess. Where you're showing like, well, I guess you'd also have it in terms of like the fact that old man Nezu is also keeping some kind of family member in his basement that we know about, who's a shadow. So it's a whole thing where like you understand these people are not the actual person, but you just have that strong of a, emotional, sentimental connection with them, and they seem so real that you just can't let them go. But I also take that idea and then I compare it to the fact that these are like higher dimensional, like digitized beings or whatever. And, I don't know if this is also trying to have some like higher level implications of like when we start getting to a point where AI is taking on personalities of people we know. Like, I know there was I think this is a Black Mirror episode. There's a Black Mirror episode where somebody's significant other dies. And they have a whole service available at the time where...
Yes, it is. It's one of the few.
Yeah, they have a service available where you can order pretty much a, like, cloned copy of this person. Well, I think at first it's just an AI personality that you message or whatever you talk to. And then they had, like, physical bodies that you could put them in, too. So it's not actually your loved one, but it's a version of them that feels super real. And there's... just all these questions about like what that kind of does to you mentally and whether or not these kind of relationships are healthy. And what I was wondering the moment we found out the doctor's family was involved in trying to keep these shadows alive and regularly feeding the mother there, I was wondering if we were going the route of we're going to find out these shadows are actually, beings that are need to be helped in some kind of way. They're just trying to, but no, they're just using the doctor and the doctor's family. They're like, listen, you keep us alive or your wife will now also die because now she's the shadow. So you're like forced to help us pretty much. And then also they're like having the sister, what was her name? Toriko or Tokiko? I don't know. Tokiko. Okay. They're tricking her the whole time. She's like the member of the family. I guess the father just thinks So is a dumbass or something and just doesn't trust him to help out with the shadows. So Tokiko is the one in charge of like helping out with the shadows as well. So she's helping them in secret. And it seems like the promise that they made is we're going to leave like Mio alone and we're going to leave like some of your close friends alone or whatever. We won't harm them. But obviously they're betraying her, as we've already seen from one of the loops before, where they're just using them to get ready for the festival day, so they don't give a fuck after a certain point about whatever Tokiko thinks, because they're shadows and they're evil. And I feel like that... I feel like we kind of rushed into the whole fuck you, we're just evil for evil's sake or whatever kind of vibe with it. I guess it kind of comes with the territory of the mother Hiroko just being, I fuck you, I'm ancient god. I don't give a fuck. I'm doing this. I can do it. But I mean, it also kind of makes sense that they put her in the body of this like little child for it too, as like her main body, not even just as Shiori. They still look like a little child, even though they're covered in like bandage wraps and shit like that in her main body, because it's like she's essentially this like ancient thing, but still like throwing these weird hunger tantrums to like stay alive or whatever. Like they don't really give a fuck long term, it seems. They just want to be able to eat as much as they can, is how it comes off to me right now, at least. It might turn out later on that we're going to be developing them a little more. I do like... I thought at first that the giant like four-armed shadow that we saw in the old loop, I thought that was like the actual shadow version of Hiroko or something like that, but no, that's like Hiroko's bodyguard. Was that supposed to be the one that becomes Shinpei's shadow, or is that like a separate shadow? I can't quite remember. But I thought that dude was kind of cool with his design and how he was acting in these volumes. I thought that was cool. In volume 5, we had the flashback to the actual scene where Ushio dies trying to save Shiori, and during that is when we also had this weirdness happen where we see it happen. Shadow Ushio is doing this thing where they can physically see it with her somehow, but in the middle of that flashback it's interrupted by the mother, who is physically like attacking Shinpei at that moment. It leaves like a hand mark on him.
That was awesome. Because I knew they were in a video and they're like, what's that? And when she's like, I found you, and it was like the full page panel.
Yep.
I audibly went, what? And like going behind me, like getting interesting.
Like, what the fuck? How'd you
I
get in
literally
here?
yelled out loud.
You get in here. It's a video.
I thought that was a sick twist, and how the artist did the full page thing was really sick.
Yeah. It was amazing. Another thing I wanted to bring up, okay? I brought up in one of the past videos, probably the last video, about how it was casually mentioned again about a detective coming into the island later on to investigate the Kobayashi family disappearing. He shows up for a bit in Volume 5. He's like, he had some weird, like, I'm just gonna trail off my words or whatever thing. He shows up, flashes his badge. He's like, my name's Miura, or whatever. I don't know. He's like stretching out his like vowels a long time. He only really says like 4 things. And then the next time we see him, he's dead and is about to be fed to the mother. So I'm like, oh, well.
What the fuck was going on with that?
Well,
I was on this case, Columbo.
Listen, I was ready in the past video where we were in the last one, where I'm just like, they brought him up twice now. It's not going to be a coincidence. He's going to be brought up. He's going to end up being some like big character. And I just think it's funny that he was brought up just to immediately die. It might be in future loops he actually becomes some kind of thing that helps.
Next time on Dragon Ball Z.
But I also highly doubt he's gonna be somebody who helps a lot, because in that one frame where he does appear, usually with all the main actors in this, you get like a little like title card that appears next to them if they're gonna be an important character. We did not get one for him, but that might also be just because he literally introduces himself and flashes his badge at that moment, and he's not from the island maybe. So, I don't know. He might be important. I feel like he's somebody who will come back just because they decided to give him a weird, like, speech thing where he's just stretching out his vowels for some reason. So maybe he'll come back. I don't know. Speaking of how the characters are talking, I still can't get used to them going "wokay, yar." I can't get used to it still.
I fucking hate it.
We're like in these. I get it when they're in the casual like times earlier on in the story, but now that we're in like these deep fights in this like underwater sewer area, that's like weird copies of like ancient deep sea bullshit, and they're going "yar wokay ushio." I don't. I can't. I need them to stop. I need them to chill.
Okay, it's the thing. In my own naivety, I just like don't even process that. Like I know I read it, but I don't remember that part.
Listen. I can usually stomach when we add in these kind of accents. The way that they did it here for the localization, I don't know, man. Wokay, Jess, like these feel like things you're going out of your way to like say these things in that accent. Like not like you're actually using that accent. It sounds like
someone's actually going "wokay."
Yeah,
like
it. Like to me, I read it and I feel like it's somebody trying to do like, you know, it's the equivalent of I tell someone I'm from Boston, and then they start doing the whole "Park the car in the Harvard Yard," am I right? Like they start doing like the most like stereotypical Boston accent on like on purpose. And that's how I feel when I read these. What's what?
Or New Yorker says I can't fucking do it.
Oh yeah, I'm walking it. Yeah.
No. How the New Yorker says birds. It's really weird.
Oh boy, I don't know.
Yeah, there you go.
Listen, we're not here to talk about New York accents, okay? We're here to talk about wokay. We're here Okinawa accents or like Islander accents or whatever. What's the term for it? Some kind of dialect. Fuck, I can't remember it. I explained it before. Kansai dialect, I think, is what it is. Which, by the way, I found out through some of my translation work. I had some annoying bullshit related to, okay, I'm having difficulty with Japanese, and I'm like, I don't understand what the fuck this word's supposed to mean. What the fuck? I'm like searching for it in like these Japanese dictionaries. It's not showing up. And I find out some like, there are, in Okinawa, there's like specific Islander phrases.
Oh god.
Only for Okinawa. They're like it's like right? Okinawa slang, and I search forever for it, and it just means like "you idiot" or whatever. And I'm like, all right, fair enough. I guess I was the fool in the end. I feel like I was the fool in the end. But
wait,
yes.
what word was it? I'm curious. What word was it?
What? It was like Potsugatsu or something like that. I don't know. You wouldn't know what it actually sounds like or whatever. I don't know if you ever really hear it in anime because it's specifically something only Okinawa like Islanders would say. I don't know how this kind of thing read summertime rendering, how it read, initially, but I don't know. They had to have done something to be like, okay, we're gonna have to translate all these times that they say to ya and woke. Like, they must have like literally been writing it in that accent originally. Otherwise, I'm gonna hate whoever localized this forever if I find out that they just did that for like regular shit. Like, hey, how you doing? Like if the original has deliberate things where they're doing that accent, okay, I'm fine. But if they're like pushing it just because this is how they were originally supposed to talk, I'm gonna lose my shit. But anyways,
It'd be funny though.
One thing that I did think was interesting, once we got into like these other mechanics the shadows have, like the copying and printing or whatever, they could copy and print literal keys and stuff. Like they printed one to get that was inside the statue in order to get into the underground lair. Which, by the way, to get into the underground lair was like bullshit in 7 degrees. But like that's because it's only supposed to be accessible through shadows, I guess. The key to get in is inside the statue, in its like stomach. You have to copy it, print it out, then to use it, you have to turn into your shadow form, slip in through the cracks in the wall, to open the lock, and then you like push the wall open. I'm like, holy fuck.
I mean, they had like 200 years to think of this shit.
Also,
what'd you say?
Also, it's an abandoned house in like the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's in like an abandoned like old shrine. This is a shrine, right, that they're at, or was it an old clinic? It might have been an old clinic. I think it's a clinic because I think they said Soa's father owned it. And like it's some land that they own, but it's like an old building out in the middle of nowhere. So the fact that Soa has seen his dad just sometimes wander around it was like weird for him. He's like, why the fuck was he actually here? We technically own the land, so I guess it's fine, but I just think it's fucking weird. What's he doing? And then they go in and there's like, it's just a mess in there because clearly the building itself is not what anybody gives a shit about. They just care about like the entrance and the other ground there. And so,
man, you guys are catching a fucking disease in there.
I guess. Listen, they live in the sewers, all right? They live in the sewers with, like, copies of underground deep sea shit. Somehow it leads out to, like, leads to a natural cave, which also is connected to the ocean, I guess, because they say there's, like, actual salt water here. But there's, like, just some stuff that you'd find in like deep sea water that should not be there at all, let alone like in the insides at like outside of water there. But it's just like these are ancient shadow people. They've been there for so long. One thing that we did also find out about, more information regarding Hizuru and her second personality, her brother, because they had the old encounter with the mother years ago. And the mother clearly remembers them. And it sounded like, if I'm understanding it correctly, the brother is inside of her, like, not as a second personality. The implication I got there, as a shadow, yes. It seemed like it was some kind of weird thing that happened similar to Ushio, where the shadow copy failed or something, or for some reason they are on the side of the humans, and that person went inside of her body. So it's not exactly like a split personality, like mental disorder thing or whatever. It is like just actually a second person within her, which I guess can make sense given that we can have Shadow Ushio turn into other objects like the seashell that Ushio wears and stuff, because they did that before. So like these things can they can have a main body that they can transform to, but they can also just transform into other stuff if they want. So I guess the main thing with them is just the fact that like in order to keep their specific bodies, they have to be able to copy them constantly. So I guess erasing them to feed themselves doesn't necessarily like lock in the permanent form, maybe, but I'm not entirely sure at this point yet. It's still kind of confusing how that kind of things works. But the one thing that I did get clarified for myself, at least in this chapter or these volumes, why Shadow Ushio was wearing a swimsuit even though she was created from a different outfit that Ushio was wearing. And the reason the reason was you can, if the existing thing is still there, you can copy them again and you can update your information naturally to that information.
Windows 10 to Windows 11. It's amazing.
Yeah, so she did that on the day that Ushio died. They did the copy. She was in the swimsuit at the time, so now she's in the swimsuit. Then the real Ushio dies, so she can wear other clothes, like real clothes, but she can't like materialize new clothes onto the form. Otherwise, it's weaker. I think they said it's like weaker unless it's like the natural 3D form of the body, because she can fight in like her physical form as Ushio while also fighting as like, you know, with her shadow form moving around and stuff. But they explained at some point that they get weaker, they've discovered through experimenting, if they are like wearing something else on them or something, because I don't know if it just kind of like holds down their 3D form or something like that, because they did explain during the Shiori incident in the ocean that they discovered at the time, if something is holding onto a shadow's 3D form, they can't move. And that's if something is like physically grabbing onto and holding onto it. They just can't move. It's like they're paralyzed or whatever, because, you know, the thing that it's kind of like a reverse way of holding the shadow form in place. If you hold the physical body in place, then the shadow can't exactly move around too much, because the physical body can't move around much. So I'd imagine it's some kind of logic related to that kind of thing, where if you have more stuff on you, it just kind of hinders how you can move and stuff through the physical thing, because you'd have like a connection with
like
both.
Wearing heavy clothes.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. And I guess it's like they have to have some kind of three-dimensional form to interact with a lot of things. They could do things in their shadow forms, but in order to actually physically interact with things, they have to do it as a 3D form. So there's a lot of weird intricacies that get into it. We also had Nezu and... Is it Nezu or Neru? I think it's Nezu. Old Man Nezu, I think. Yes, Old Man Nezu and Hizudu going into the sewers as well in their own kind of path. They weren't joined up with them at first because they split up with Shinpei at some point, because they were like, listen, you're keeping Shadow Ushi around, that's fine. We don't know how they're getting their information, so they might be getting all their information about, you know, whatever you're doing from Ushio somehow. They just might not know. So they didn't want to trust hanging around with it. Plus, they also seem to have issues with hanging around with a known shadow in general. They still have some things that they don't exactly trust about it. Nezu probably sort of kind of gets it, because he's got his own kidnapped shadow. And I'd imagine Hizuru kind of does too, because she has her brother as a shadow inside of her. But maybe it's just a little different because this is a shadow.
These two, not her.
Well, I'd imagine it's a little different with Shadow Ushio because she's physically like moving around and on her own and stuff. Nezu's thing is like nailed down in his basement, and Hizuru's thing is just inside of her body, and she can take over. So it's not like those two shadows can exactly do much. But with Shadow Ushio, maybe it's a little different. And there also seems to be like, you know, the mother was trying to consume and or correct or something Shadow Ushio in the end, but Shinpei, when he does his looping, he in some way brings Shadow Ushio with him on the loop, so they both kind of retain their memories about these things. So if he dies, the loop will reset, but they don't know what's going to happen or if they can take Shadow Ushio back if she dies in some kind of way. So they're trying to do what they can to prevent that, while also leaving opportunities for Shinpei to die in case it's needed. But they make it pretty fucking far on this loop. I thought we were going to have to go through a whole bunch of different loops. They make it pretty fucking far on this one loop.
He took forever to die.
And when
I got to say, it's impressive. You know, it took him a while to die.
Yeah. And when he did, it was from a vial of poison that they found from the
he had a backup plan. You know, he's like, oh shit.
And I think they were just like, originally they were like, listen, if it comes down to it, Shadow Ushio, you got to kill me. You got to cut off my head. It'll be painless. I would very much like for it to be painless. He's like,
but Frenchies would do.
But I got poison just in case that happens. Okay, it'll be painful, but it's got to be done or whatever. It seemed like also towards the end when, you know, he was dying from the poison and Ushio was in this like shadow fight with the mother, I think they were saying like Ushio was fighting back and overpowering the mother for a second there. So I guess the mother is like pretty fucking in a weak state right now. It was just because she's really
not
hungry.
Just that, she said, "Wait, are you the egg?" And then kill her, even if it means killing me. Which means I think Ushio has like some sort of power, meaning she's the only one who can kill the mother.
Yeah, and I thought somebody. I remembered that line, and I thought it was a reference to at some point somebody mentioned the chicken and the egg, in terms of the shadows, or maybe I was getting it mixed up with something else. But
yeah, they mentioned that. They mentioned that. Yes, I remember.
So maybe it's just a question of like who the original shadow is, I guess, and maybe Ushio's shadow was like the original shadow ancient being of this island or whatever, and at some point created more things and they just don't remember after all these years or something. Maybe it's some kind of fire punch thing where after many years they just kind of forgo and just change identities or whatever, because why not?
For the comedy.
A little comedy, just a little bit.
In the jungle.
Oh, we also had Mio and the cop show up in this underground thing where listen, at first I thought it was going to be something like, oh, Shiori, what is Shiori doing there? And then Mio goes and it's like, oh, the cop's here. Whoa, that's a coincidence in timing. Oh, the cop's going to actually be a shadow and kill her. No, it's just actually the cop. And he's scared shitless about going to the sewers. He's like, no, I'm not doing that. This dude's kind of fucking hilarious. He's like, I'm not going under that. I'm not going down there. We were just seeing things. Clearly, sure, he's not down there. They wouldn't go down there. Let's just go, Mio. We can ignore that.
He was absolutely correct.
I'm not going down there. Listen, that'll make my suit smell. What about Erica or whatever? She won't like me anymore if I show up and I smell or whatever. And Mio had to like be like, listen, if you did it, you'd be a hero, I'd imagine. You know, everybody be lining up. He's already like climbing down the sewers. He's like, you'd be best to follow me, miss. I'm just a hero for justice, you know. I don't do it for the fame or glory. I do it for no reason. I just do it for the heck of it, you know. He has that vibe for like 5 seconds, all of 5 seconds until they actually go under. He's like, no, this is terrifying. But Mio's just like, come on, we gotta go. We gotta check it. Then they see Shiori again, and Shiori like evaporates a gate or whatever so that they can go through, because they're clearly luring them in so they can use Mio as like a hostage, bait or whatever. So, but Mio doesn't know any better because the situation has not been explained to her. She did mention like maybe it's Shadow Shiori, but that was more in terms of like knowing the legend of shadows, and I think it was mentioned a little earlier at some point from somebody, because it is just an island legend that they have, like an old like scary tale you tell kids to like, you know, one of those kind of deals where you tell them that so that they don't misbehave or whatever. It's what it felt like. So she didn't know anything about what was going on with Shinpei. She's just been sitting there like, where's Shinpei? When's he coming home or whatever? Not realizing that he's gone into all the shit, the world-ending fucking journey over here in the sewers with the sewer people of like this ocean thing. So they're kind of captured, and the cop meets up with Hizuru, who greets her by saying, "You're the H-cup girl, aren't you?" Which, of course, Hizuru replies going, "I'm a G-cup, idiot. It's G-cup. Do you just not learn any information you're told? How did you become a cop?" It's like, and then she's like, "Anyways, I need you to help me save the day here. Somehow
I can't really move."
Somehow the solution wasn't, listen, cop guy, I need you to take the shotgun, and I need you to go shoot Shinpei because of reasons to stop the end of the world. It was, listen, I need you to carry me all the way there while I have this fatal wound. Then I need you to throw me into the air so that I can try to have this aerial fight with these shadow things with my shotgun by myself while I have a fatal wound and I'm dying. Okay.
I mean, clearly the cop can't be trusted, okay? I mean, we just pissed out. She doesn't learn things, okay?
Listen,
What if he forgets halfway through?
Listen, I think the cop guy is funny. I don't know how he became a cop or why he became a cop. I don't know how that happened.
Don't worry about it.
Listen, his description on Anime List, it says, a lighthearted police officer who works at Hitogashima's only police station. His personality leaves people wondering if he truly is an officer. You know, that's all you get. There's nothing else with him.
What if he's bullshitting, though? What if?
Listen,
What if he's not a shit cop? Well, that's the ultimate twist.
that's the real Shadow, okay? He's just not even a cop. He's just been faking it. This is stolen valor the whole time. It's just, nobody was doing it. You saw a uniform lying around. He's like, listen, the chicks will probably like the uniform, so I'll be a cop for the town. And then he's like, listen, nothing really happens in town. It'll be fine. And it's like several people die constantly. Oh, it's fine. They were just accidents. Doctor said so. The strangulation marks? It's fine. Doctor says it's okay.
Doctor says it's good. Don't worry.
Weird that right before all the funerals, he wants to be like completely alone with the bodies, and all of a sudden the bodies are in like a different coffin, or like, he doesn't say that, but I imagine that's kind of like what happens or whatever, because they swap out the bodies right before any funeral ceremonies, and then feed the real bodies to the mother and the shadows underground. And this has been going on for many years. And again, the people on this island unknowingly worship this shadow. So the shadows are things that the islanders literally worship, and they just don't realize it because of the culture being lost over time. Or maybe the priest is actually explaining that to people, but nobody wants to listen to his long rambles, because he goes into very long rambles whenever he talks, and everyone's like, all right, can you stop already? We want to go home. So this is...
Wait, on me. Sounds like my law teacher.
Damn.
Like, it is a true or false question. We don't have to be here for like 20 minutes.
True. So we have, in these two volumes, it was a ton of fight scenes. This is like loaded with fight scenes. I like so many fight scenes, very little of like, I mean, there was some stuff, especially in volume 5, where we're getting into more like mystery investigation stuff. Most of this was we're being surrounded by these creepy shadow things in this underground sewer. We got to deal with them, and it all looks cool. I don't know. I just felt like we were going from we got to investigate the mystery of these things to we have to beat the shit out of everything very quickly, I guess. And we got 13 volumes, and this is the halfway point, so I guess it's fine. We're on.
Yeah, they were.
What?
Yeah, they were really moving through the plot on this one, because, like, you know, this was like the longest time arc that Shinpei's been alive. It was very interesting.
It just keeps making me think that this is heading towards the climax already. Like, I thought that initially when we read the first 2 volumes, and it already showed us the festival, this is where they're leading up to. Everybody's going to die there. And the end of the world happens. And this one, it's a super long loop, and we meet the final boss again, find out the final boss has been in front of us the whole time, and I'm like, oh, is this the end? But shit's getting fucked. We got people dying left and right, okay? So we gotta restart the loop, I'm assuming, but what are we gonna fix in the next time? The next time, as we saw in the tiny preview for the beginning of the 5th loop, he starts off at the point where he's convincing Hizuru and Old Man Nezu to help out, and Shadow Ushio just digitizes next to him. He's like, yeah, I'm from the future. And I think that's pretty much proof. This girl in the swimsuit spawning next to me. Okay, so we'll see how it goes with the next one. So we have a lot of stuff that they've uncovered about the backstory with the shadows. We understand that the doctor family is involved. The sister is working for the shadows as a human and is going to be betrayed. They're probably going to try to do something to get her on their side at some point, or try to get answers from the father, or maybe do something about his mother. I'm assuming at some point we're also going to get into the backstory behind Hizuru and Old Man Nezu. These two are definitely something at some point that I think we're going to have like 1 or 2 volumes dedicated to, whatever their past story is, because I'm sure that'll be something that's going to add into some of the time too. Now that we've had more details about Hizuru's like double personality explained, and we have plenty more time to explore more aspects of the story and the histories of the Shadow. So I imagine somewhere we're going to get into that history at some point. And I'm excited for that, because I want to see how that went.
Yeah, you've got a very sharp intuition. That's all I'll say on that.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, I'm not going to say anything.
Okay.
There's a lot of interesting things that happened this volume. We saw Hizuru's brother had the ability to see 2 seconds in the future in the fight scene. That was
yes.
really cool.
Yep.
So has medical knowledge, right? He identified the medicine was poison, probably because his father's background.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, a lot of interesting thing happens in the old clinic. We saw a lot of death certificates, which is probably determining who they would decide to kill. So that's what all the records are probably for.
Yep.
And then
sorry.
You go ahead.
No, you're sorry, fan. Yeah,
and then there was the big reveal at the end of Volume 6, which was Ushio's body was recovered. That was really cool.
Yeah. I really the whole Ryunosuke seeing the future, like the Hizuru's body brother double shadow thing, seeing the future. I was like, oh, that's going on. I see. That's why they're able to do all this insane shit. They're just seeing like slightly ahead in the future. I remembered I wanted to bring up that, and I wanted to bring up the mother tried to take Shinpei's eye. I was like, oh shit, it's game over. They took the eye. Now he can't even die. I was a little disappointed when it's like, oh, it's not gonna work because causality loop bullshit. So like, I mean, I guess it makes sense, but at the same time, I'm like, man, that would have been a.
No, you don't understand.
Yeah.
It doesn't work because love conquers all.
Brian, listen. That might be where this is going. I feel like it's a little weird when it's listen, I still feel like it's a little weird if the love conquers all is also going to be related to your adoptive sister or whatever. Little weird, but okay.
Conquers all,
baby.
Listen, it's not technically incest, okay? So that's
not incest.
Well, it certainly feels like it. So.
As soon as you talked about her digitizing next to him, I had a really bad joke. I was going to message you, but I didn't want you to
save the memes for later. Don't worry. For the After Dark memes, okay?
You guys got After Dark memes?
Speaking of After Dark memes, I thought you were going to be editing down stream stuff. Did you actually even do any of that?
My health's been real bad for a few days.
Oh yes, I understand that.
Yeah, I was like bedridden for like 4 days.
And Anne asked me to send them copies of it as well. They may or may not be sending me something in the future. I don't know, but I told Anne.
They also got give them the suggestion for the name.
Listen,
my suggestion was Anime Tangent Club.
So what I said was, you guys can edit these things however you want to edit them. I will upload them to my After Dark channel if you guys want. That's up to you guys. I'm not putting any pressure on you guys to do it. I just had zero faith in either of you actually having the time or actual care once you got started to actually do whatever you guys were planning on doing.
No, I still need an excuse to learn
Da Vinci.
Anyway. Yeah, because I have no idea what I'm doing in Da Vinci.
The one thing I still have to, and I think at some point I resolved this issue with Premiere Pro, especially with longer stuff, like editing down these VODs, when I try to press play sometimes it like lags for a bit, and with Da Vinci it's like a little bit more annoying because when I do it lags for a bit before it actually starts playing, and also the audio is muted for the first like second or so, and I don't know if that's just something on my end. I'm worried I'm gonna have to start doing like a whole, okay, before I can work at all I have to start doing a whole generated like proxy render of like this thing before I can even start editing. I hope that's not the case for like my longer stuff. It takes fucking forever to do that for, but
oh, I set that up. So yeah, I had an issue where it was too fucking stuttery to actually work with on longer videos.
Yeah.
But they have a whole system where it just as soon as you're finished recording, in the background on your computer at like whatever you set it to, like how much resources it takes up, it'll just automatically render for a proxy when it saves a new file to your VOD output. Like whatever, you can set it so that it automatically proxies everything that's in your VOD folder as soon as you finish recording.
Oh, okay.
Which is actually a super sick feature.
Okay, I'll have to look into how to set that. I'll probably get.
Yeah,
in
they
touch
have like
with
an
you.
auto. I forgot how to do it because they said it was ages ago when I first looked into it. I just happen to still have it. Oh, I think I need to reset it up actually.
I see. I'll figure that
Yeah,
out.
but they
I'll
have
have
an
to look
audio
into that.
proxy feature that hooks into your output folder, and you can
Okay.
just straight up auto proxy everything you record,
I'll have to-
like without ever having it pop up.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to look into that because that sounds like that would be super helpful
Yeah, it is.
for the future. But anyways, speaking of copies and shadows and like overwriting and rendering and proxies or whatever, the mechanics of the shadows and the different abilities, the digitizing or whatever, how do you guys feel about those? Because those, for me, like I explained before, like I get it to a certain extent. I think some of it makes it cool for some of the fights, but overall, I don't really know if the rules for these kind of things, like I think they're cool in how they're set up. I just don't really see the point in some of them. I'm not sure. How do you feel about them?
I think we're gonna find out the rules are some like rules of the universe, aka it's a simulation. To be totally honest with you, it's gonna be like the
Listen.
viruses or some shit. She's like the original virus or fucking some kernel access rat or some shit.
listen. I just got through playing all of Anonymous Code. Okay, I can't have 2 pieces of media in a row being like everything is all digital the whole time. I can't have 2 of them in a row.
Is that what happens in Steins Gate?
Well, not in
just
Steins Gate specifically, but Anonymous Code's whole thing. This is like the premise of like the main thing is just, I mean, that like the world is like they invent an Earth simulator, and the implication is within the Earth simulator, obviously, an Earth simulator is also. They use the Earth simulator to simulate the current state of the world in order to see into the future of it and the different possibilities that could happen. So in order for that to happen, that means an Earth simulator is also created within the Earth simulator. So there's like layers and layers of like digitized worlds, and you know their world is on a digitized layer where they're technically digital simulations, but when you get down into it, it's a question of like, does that matter if that's just your existence? You're living within the physical properties of the world you live in, so it's not really technically that different from living in the real world. I guess you just kind of get it a little reframed, but if that is your real world, then it doesn't. I don't know. It kind of depends. They have like one dude who has an existential crisis over it, but it was also because he like got lost in the deep void of space at one point and was like terrified of that or whatever. It's a whole thing. Anonymous Code's fun. It's action packed. It's pretty good. What I will say though is that like they didn't actually go too much into the actual like Earth simulation kind of explanation stuff. It just kind of was like, by the way, this is kind of like a simulation, so we can just have excuses for multiple things to happen, which can be fine with how it's done. The way that they did it in that was that they allowed, the gimmick of that game is that you as the player make choices for the story through the save load features of the game. So instead of doing time travel through a phone like you did in Steins Gate, in Anonymous Code, you're doing it through loading a previous save at specific times. And the main character is aware of this, and he makes these choices with you. So it's a whole thing where a lot of it's digital, and it's got a lot of questions about that kind of stuff. And this, it could go that route. Summertime Rendering could go the kind of route where it's all simulation, but Shinpei's whole thing is right now he is seeing renders of the different parallel worlds, I guess in the same form of what a simulation would be for him. He would be the observer. He would be like the person running the simulation right now because he has the eye. But again, I don't exactly... Do I understand it? That when they tried to take his eye and somehow wouldn't let them take it because cause and effect or whatever... Maybe it's just because we don't know how he originally got the eye in the first place. Then I don't get why that's a problem fully. I'm sure at some point, like I think I said it first, it makes sense about he can't take it because cause effect loop, but it would make sense in terms of something causing that to happen through a time related event or whatever that has to have happened later in order for this to be something that you cannot prevent or something like that. I don't know. Maybe it's going to be something weird, like how they explain this kind of stuff in Steins Gate or whatever, where these are parallel worlds technically, but they all exist quantumly amongst each other or something like that. So I don't know. We'll find out. We're like at the halfway mark, I think, right? Because this is volume 6. There's 13 volumes. I do have a question that I want to start thinking about now. I mean, we still have plenty of time for it, but there will come a time, because we're reading 2 volumes every week, and there's 13 volumes. And I don't know, how good at math some of you guys are, but that's an odd number, and that means that there's going to be one that's going to be left out towards the end. So the question is how we want to handle that towards the end. Do we want to do 2 volumes and then the last volume for the last stream? Or do we want to do 2 volumes and then the last 3 volumes for the last stream? Or do we want to do... I don't know. I don't know how we want to do it. There is also an anime for this that, for the final week, we could read the final volume and then also watch the anime and then discuss the final volume and compare it to the anime and see if that kind of thing. But the only concern I have with that is the anime is 24 episodes. So I don't know how many people would have time for that in 1 week. It depends on people. So I don't know if that's something that people want to do. But
I feel like if we're going that route, we might need a little more time.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair as well, the anime could be started... Most of the anime stuff could be started at any point because, we're like 6 volumes in. The first volume covers, I think the first 4 episodes of the anime or something like that. So you get a big chunk of the way through the anime just off of the stuff that we've read. I have not been told whether or not the anime covers the whole thing, but I'm going to assume if it's 24 episodes, it probably does. So, I don't know.
I was thinking if we do 2 chapters and then leaving 1 chapter at the end, we could do sort of a wrap up, or so we do the 1 volume and then we just say our thoughts on the whole series as a whole, rather than just discussing the summary.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of leaning towards, because it makes a lot of sense. We have a lot of time to digest and explain our thoughts on the series as a whole. It makes a lot of sense to me. My whole thing that I was worried about was we did 3 volumes. That'd be very overwhelming to talk about 3 volumes in one stream, I think. I feel like 2 is a nice number. 1, I think, would also be a nice number if we did 1 volume per stream, but then it would take forever to get through some series, so I didn't want to do that, which is why I decided to do 2 volumes per stream. So I feel like doing the 1 volume for the last stream, that'll be fine. And if it turns out the stream ends up being a little, shorter than an hour like we usually do, that's probably fine too, I think, because I'm sure we'll ramble as well. So, it's fine. So, yeah, that's what I say. Is everybody else okay with that? For the final volume, we'll do the last one?
That's great.
Okay. But that'll be a ways away, a few weeks at least. Probably, if I do the math right, that's 3 weeks to get to volume 12, I think, and then the volume 13 would be the week after, right? So we got time. Ignoring any holidays that we might encounter that I'm not thinking of at the current moment, because if there's a holiday, we're probably not going to do it that week. So
Canadian Thanksgiving.
Whoa, hold on. Let me clarify here. American holidays, okay? We don't respect Canadian holidays, okay? Listen, I watched Scott Pilgrim yesterday.
I mean, there's going to be Halloween we're going to run into by the time we finish, right?
Well, is it on a Thursday?
Oh, I thought you meant... You said that... Oh, never mind. I thought week you meant,
No, I just mean, if it falls on the day that we're hosting it, then we're not going to do it.
It's Halloween 30th or 31st, I forgot.
Halloween's the 31st. So that's...
Tuesday.
Yeah, so that's on Tuesday, so we're safe with that. I just didn't know. I don't think we're gonna be still reading this by the time we get to Thanksgiving, right? So I think we'll be fine with that. I mean, whatever series we start afterwards, obviously, once we reach Thanksgiving and stuff like that, we won't meet that week. So.
All right, American Thanksgiving. I forgot.
Yeah, we respect American holidays here. Okay, get used to it. All right.
We should at some point do a mini fucking manga episode and do a Jinji
one-shots
Ito
or
book
something?
or one shot.
Oh, like a one shot? Yeah, I'd be down for that.
We should do a one shot in between or something.
Yeah.
I feel like what we could do for a break or something is everyone proposes one shot that they enjoyed. So everyone, it's like book club, but everyone has a one shot and we just read through everyone's choices or
Oh,
something.
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And we can like submit them ahead of time to make sure it doesn't affect anyone's sensibilities or whatever.
Yeah.
We can do like an
What
approved.
sensibilities?
Listen, like I said, personally, if we're picking stuff, the only main rules I have on my end is I don't want it to be like entirely focused on ecchi or whatever. Ecchi elements in some places, it's whatever, okay? But I just don't want it to be like anything weirdly fucking hardcore with any of that shit. And I also don't want any like super duper like fucked up like stuff that if I were to show images of it on stream or a video in the future would get me banned. I would very much not like to have those kind of things show up.
I kind of wanted to do like one of the Junji Itos as a one shot though.
Okay.
Like one of the shorter ones.
No, yeah, those are fine. Those seem cool. So
yeah,
those
So
are.
yeah, you could just pick a chapter or an episode, and like we could go through it like an anthology or something.
Yeah. So these are definitely ideas. Certainly, we'll deal with all those. We'll think of them. I think they're pretty great ideas. We'll just work out all the details in the chats. The other thing I wanted to bring up too. Do we want a specific chat for book club? I feel like that would benefit us, but I also I get worried with creating a new chat. As soon as I make a new chat, usually I'm the only one that actually fucking uses them.
Uses it.
Nobody
ever noticed general.
Listen. That's my concern. Nobody ever fucking uses anything except for like the general chat in the server for some reason. Okay, you guys are allowed to use the other channels. You're allowed to post stuff. Okay, I'm allowing it. I'm begging you to do it. I'm the only one who posts anything in art, music. I'm not the only one who posts in Yu-Gi-Oh though. We have Shadow and Miko that actually post in Yu-Gi-Oh, so that's pretty base.
The last song I really liked and listened to a bunch on my last car ride. If you want.
Go for it. Spam any cool music. Listen, the only thing I post in the music channel is just whatever cool fucking anime music comes up to me on the YouTube recommendations, because nobody else is posting there. So if you guys have more music to further my horizons, feel free to post it in there, okay? I would like to get introduced to better music. Anything. Give me anything. What was that, Shadow?
Me posting a music chat.
Okay. Listen. You post fucking meme I don't even remember the last one you posted, okay? But
it's not fun.
It was like Flex Tape Live or something like that. It was like the Flex Tape band or some shit is what you posted last in there, I think.
No, it was worse than that.
See, look, you posted that. Even Hajime likes it, okay? Hajime already likes your music taste, okay? It's a sign.
Yeah,
it's proof.
Why does Hajime randomly like my shit I type?
Because I programmed her to do that. She's
just random.
It's a random probability that she's gonna like a message post in the server because I made her that way. That feature's based on an existing bot called Housecat, whose only job is to do that. Hajime does everything, including that. Okay.
Time to post the entire Mega Man OST. Music shit.
Listen, you're allowed. I will not ban you for it. You're allowed to do it.
No one's gonna click it,
but listen, you never know. I might be like, you know what? I feel like this is some Mega Man today. I've definitely had that thought before. Huh? Don't you worry.
Wait. Actually, I can't tell if you're joking or not anymore.
I don't think. I think I've heard like 2 Mega Man songs in my life. I thought they were okay. I don't know.
Which ones? I'm curious.
I don't know. This is fucking years ago. Listen, you can change my mind on Mega Man music, okay? By sending me the great Mega Man music, all right? I will listen to them. I will give some of them a shot, okay? Don't worry. Listen, use the other channels. I won't. It's not that bad. It's not scary. It's there. It's free. You can do it. All right. So, all those memes aside, do we have any final thoughts we would like to say about these volumes? Any final theories that we want to posit? Any final anything? Anybody?
I guess I'll contribute. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
You go first. Don't worry about it.
Turndo, you go first.
Oh, mine's gonna be long, so you should go ahead.
All right, Chelsea, go first.
All right, I just want to say that digital mer people do count as a mer people prediction.
Okay, but if it's the cop, does ACAP still count for that?
Yes.
Okay, all right, Turndo, what do you got?
I was gonna talk about some of the rendering techniques, but we could wait until Anne gets here to fully go through some of the data storage and stuff, which is really cool. I guess 2 questions I'd like to posit, or for you guys to think about. I'd really love to get Anne's thoughts as well. Is what do you guys think of the title, Summertime Rendering? Is it like, do you guys feel like it's a comfortable or appropriate title? Because I think it was really well chosen.
I think I've thought it was fitting for a while since the double meaning of rendering, right? Mixed with the whole like data stuff that we're learning now. When they mentioned in this volume, one of them saying like Shinpei is the observer, you are rendering the world or whatever. It kind of felt equivalent to me of like, oh, they said the thing. Oh, yeah. But I mean, I was fine with it. Like, I think it's very fitting, that kind of stuff. So I like it. I like the title. I think it's cool.
Okay, cool. So I just thought it was super interesting how they like render data or render reality.
Yeah.
And in terms of your comments on causality, I felt like, so I'm gonna get a little bit theoretical here. I feel like it's pretty self-consistent, so it's not like the quantum or parallel worlds. We're very much collapsing the wave function, or they would call it the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics or physics. So I thought it was really cool how they decided to render the future, because you're bringing future information back to the past, but you're keeping one timeline consistent.
Right. Yep. And then we're looping back and continuing it on. But yeah, all that kind of stuff. I had to look into Copenhagen bullshit or whatever. I just forget some of that stuff. But I looked into it for a bit for one of my anime science videos recently, and that kind of stuff was hard for me to understand from the reading stuff. But I got the general gist of it being like the quantum, like multiple options existing at the same superposition or something like that, but only one is observed. So that was the one that exists or whatever. You know, Schrodinger's box and all that bullshit, and you got to have the obligatory mention or whatever. So
yeah, basically you could run multiple calculations at once, but you can only have one result. It's just collapse. So
right,
that's all about quantum computing, but that's a different thing entirely.
Yeah, I like it. I like the implications. I like how we're diving into these shadow beings as higher form digital beings. I think that kind of idea is cool.
You say they're digital monsters.
Are you saying Ushio is a Digimon? Can she digivolve? Is that your implication?
Yes, it is.
Oh my god.
I mean, Ushio can transform. She transformed into a necklace.
She's gonna become.
I just need to put her in a computer.
Agumon? Oh my god.
No, sorry, that's a different evolution line.
Oh, sorry, it's Gabumon. I see.
No.
They're like real life Tamagotchis, basically. You got to take care of them.
True. You got to feed them dead bodies of the islanders.
You know, the abandoned train tracks make a lot more sense now.
Listen. So, that was Summertime Rendering Volumes 5 and 6. Wow. We do have one chat from Lil Lasagna, who was here last week, who says, uh-oh, looks like I'm tardy to the party. And they said this at 8:44, so you weren't exactly, like the show wasn't over, so you were here for the last 20 minutes. So there you go. You made it. Well, 30 minutes now at this point.
He's technically early, because we started an hour early this week, so...
True. See, this is not your fault. This is not your fault, Little Lasagna. You just knew this was, like, the time. You didn't know that we had moved it an hour ahead. But it's fine. It's fine. You're good. Speaking of Lil Lasagna, I did want to shout out. I want to start shouting out some people who I'll call them supporters, because it's pretty much anybody who is subscribed to me on Twitch, a member on YouTube, or a patron. There's like fucking 3 terms for all these things. God damn you all. So I'm just going to call it supporters, okay? So we're just going to do big shout outs to the people whose names I can currently recall who are still subscribed to me or supporting me in some kind of way monetarily. Lil Lasagna is now one of them. They are my first and currently only YouTube member. So big W to Lil Lasagna. We also have Shadowman and Anne. And I think, Justin, you're still a subscriber on Twitch, right?
Yep.
Probably.
So thank you to you, even though you don't really want it at this point, it sounds like. So, and Aztec is my only patron right now. So big W to Aztec. Don't know if he remembers he is, but big W.
Patron, I know for certain Aztec doesn't remember. I'm pretty sure.
Listen.
He was cutting down all of his random fucking monthly fees the other day, so almost certain that would have got cut.
listen,
If he
listen
knew it
for
existed.
now, I think I still got the money for it. So big W. All right. So I'm making some money in places. Okay, guys. I just want to say big W. Okay. All right. And that's all for this week. Does anybody else have anything else they want to say? Wow, exciting. We did it, boys.
Stay in school.
True. I agree. And try not to make evil deals with shadow people. They will betray you. It won't work out.
Yeah.
Even if you might think, oh, they're just trying to survive so my shadow copy of my mom can live too. No, you're going to get fucked. It's not going to be good. So, cut the ties while you can, or the world's going to end, and you'll be the one at fault for it. You fucking asshole. So don't do that. Anyways, that's all for this week. We did it, boys. Congratulations. All right, remember, the new time is Thursdays at 8 p.m. This is 1 hour before we were doing before, so it's going to be Thursdays at 8 p.m. And we will be back next week at this time. Well, not this an hour, but 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock Eastern time. All right? Set your watches. Read volumes 7 and 8. And I will talk to you all then. Goodbye, streams. Bye, streams.
Yep.
Bye, streams.
Bye.
Bye, streams. Bye.